past 11 o'clock. It's time for us to get to our final conversation for the morning. Now, lots of things have been happening in the past 48 hours, lots of talking points. All the angles will be attacked, all the angles will be exposed, all the angles will be... Now, we switch over. Today, almost all our conversations, in fact, every single conversation we've had today, apart from the power update, has just been about business, economy, and how affecting people today. Now, a few weeks ago, I got to see a comment about the employment or unemployment rate in Nigeria, indeed in other countries of the world. Now, one stat at one point in time had it that the unemployment rate in Nigeria was about 30-something%, right? However, KPMG estimates, right, that the 37.7% in 2002 would rise further to about 40.6% in 2023. Now, KPMG is a global consulting firm, and if you haven't heard about them, they do a lot of research and statistical, analysis. Now, they project that the unemployment rate is expected to continue to be a major challenge in 2023 due to limited investment by the private sector, low industrialization, slower than required economic growth, and consequently the inability of the economy to absorb 5 million new entrants into the Nigerian job market every year. Now, the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, recorded an increase of the national unemployment rate from 23 in 2018 to 33 in 2020. That's the estimate that is being used at the moment. To help us understand this, and then more importantly, to give an insight if really these figures, these statistics are actually a clear reflection of what is happening on the streets of Nigeria, is Mr. Cletus Ilugo. Mr. Cletus is speaking to us from Yola this morning. Mr. Cletus, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Jude, and good morning, listeners on radio. Welcome to our radio station, your favorite place to be, Nigeria Info. My pleasure to be here once again. Good morning.
Always a pleasure to have you join us, Mr. Cletus. Now, there's a big hub right now on social media where people are analyzing statistics from all over the world. Who has the best cookies? Who has the best water? Who has the best railway system? And yada 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 yada. Now, recently, the unemployment statistics was also reeled out, and some tables have it that the Nigerian statistic is the highest, and in the case, the worst in the world, talking about the highest rate of unemployment. Now, some say it's KPMG saying it's going to get to about 40% this year, by this year ending. The NBS is still working with 33.3%, right? And in either case, it is a frightening number, because if it's 30%, what that basically means is that if there are 200 million Nigerians, right, it means that 30% of those individuals, which is roughly 30 or so million Nigerians, all right, if my math is not is not wrong, about 60 million Nigerians are out of work. They're on. But people say it's not true. Some are saying, no, people are hustling on the street, so plenty of people get work. It's just, in quotes, office work they don't have. How do you interpret these figures from these bodies, please?
Yeah, thank you very much once again, Mr. Jude, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Nigeria Info again for exposition, for learning, and for understanding. Let me quickly say this. Yes, the statistics we've read out are good, but not 100% correct. Let me say this. Nigeria's unemployment in relation to our population, that's when your statistics might be correct. But if you go to other countries, unemployment in relation to their population is also worse. So we are looking at it from the magnitude of the population of Nigeria. Nevertheless, the Nigerian unemployment statistics are supposed to be quantified in two ways. We have statistics of unemployment and we have statistics of underemployment. There are two ways. And there are two things there. Unemployment simply means the inability of a qualified individual to get meaningful employment. That's unemployment. In that case, it is also seen as the inability of the managers of the national resources to apply resources directly in activities that can generate employment opportunities for the vast majority. And I use a caveat here, qualified person. So the question here is, how do we quantify or analyze or ascertain who is qualified? Qualification here does not only mean the degree from university. Qualification here means the individual the transformative and skills that can enable him or her to gain some level of employment, to apply his strength, his skills, and expertise to generate wealth. That's employment. But underemployment is a situation whereby an individual being qualified cannot find jobs at the same level that he is supposed to operate, and then instead begins to take a substandard job, a job or an opportunity that is less than his ability in the industry where he chooses to play. That is underemployment. And in that case, we have so many Nigerians who are underemployed. They have the capability to work, but they do not find or they cannot find jobs or opportunities that are commensurate with their skill, their qualification, their expertise and aspiration. So that's another angle that we need to look at it. Give and take, that's why somebody or a group of persons said people have jobs, it's only office work they do not have. That's one area. And again, our statistics, we've not been able to integrate our statistics, especially those who are working remotely. Nigerians have developed remote skills, and they've developed soft skills that enable them to work remotely. And so this is another statistic that we are not integrating into our national statistics to elevate us from the level that people have posited about us in terms of unemployment. That's where we are now. Thank you.
All right, so it's interesting you made mention about those who are working remotely. Over the past 5 years, it's become very popular, particularly among the younger generation from under 40s these days. A lot of people are talking about working remotely. A lot of people are talking about having jobs where they can sit at home and have their computer, basically turn their sitting rooms to offices, business centers. And we saw a lot more of those after the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns that came through. But even with that, the big question for us today, which I hope maybe you'll be able to make some pointers to, is what is really happening on the streets, Mr. Cletus, from Port Harcourt to Lagos to Benin, all the way to the FCT. I don't know about Yola, where you are right now, and maybe Katsina and Sokoto states. I've not been there in a while. But on the streets, there's this sense that people don't have jobs. Is it that they really don't have jobs, or like you said, they're either underemployed or maybe occupational migration has occurred?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jude. Let us establish certain factors and certain assumptions. There are cases of unemployment in Nigeria, no doubt about it. We cannot deny that fact. It's everywhere. It's staring on our faces, and we can see it. And there are cases of people not willing to work. That's another side. There are persons who are underemployed, and there are persons who feel the job available is not to their taste, issues of taste and preferences. So there are different categories of unemployment and underemployment in Nigeria. Yes, when we look at, when I talked about unemployment, I talked about issues around the inability of managers of our economy to apply resources to sectors, to opportunities, to windows that can generate employment opportunities. For instance, Nigeria has vast landmass. When you fly across Nigeria, from Lagos to Sokoto, Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, you see lands that are not cultivated. These are windows of opportunities for agribusiness, agriculture and agribusiness and agricultural value chain activities to spur economic activities. You can only create job opportunities when you go into massive agricultural development. This is because agriculture from start to finish and to the market has a lot of processes involved. Different people can play at different levels, creating different levels of employment and opportunities for the people to play in. But there are several factors agitating against that. That's one side. Again, the question is, there are also cases of insufficient skills to match available jobs. The school system you and I attended did not adequately give us the requisite skill and expertise to meet the industry standard. That's another cause for unemployment. You can have a situation where graduates after school still go back to take courses and training that will make them employable in the industry. That's another cause. Where do people have that money to do that? So taking extra courses and training that will make people employable are also barriers making people not to fit into job markets. Every day you watch job websites, you see job being published, but the question is, how many young graduates have the requisite skills to match the industry requirements? So that's another cause of unemployment. Now,
Mr. Cletus, let me ask you to stay on that particular bit for a minute. We have about 2 minutes before we go on the break. A lot of Nigerians have been very critical about those requirements, and there's a very long-running joke in Nigeria that you want a 25-year-old with 8 years experience then you pay the person 400,000, 200,000.
In Moses, it ought to have been possible if we are doing the right thing. The school system, the tertiary education, is supposed to be in tandem with the industry requirement. The Nigerian education today is at variance with what is required in industry. What does that imply? The school system ought to have tailored our curriculum to what the industry requires. That's one. Two, the school system ought to have a linkage with the industry such that the students are exposed to what we call internship, mentorship, and apprenticeship while in school. That's supposed to be part of the what of the 8 years experience they are requiring. The National Youth Service Corps, is part of the 8 years they are requiring. So if you look at your 3 years in the university or 4 years in the university, depending on your course, plus the 1 year NYC, what is that? That's part of the 8 years.
Interesting.
But unfortunately, most graduates are not equipped and not informed about what they need to know. That's why radio stations like Nigeria Info and other who was I spoke a few minutes ago, I know that most Nigerian students listening to me would have learned something. So kudos to Nigeria Info for giving out this vital information. So the school would have exposed them to apprenticeship. The school should have exposed them to internship, and the school should have exposed them to mentorship. From the beginning of your year 1 to year 5, if you're in an engineering school, that's 3 years already. Your youth service, it's already 8 years. So if you are in relationship with the mentorship program you are going through, you're already building your experiences. So it is not the experience, 100% experience that is acquired after graduation. Your school training should have been part of it if actually your school curriculum is up to date.
Okay, all right.
These are the areas.
All right, so Mr. Cletus, we're going to go on a break shortly in a few seconds. We're going to ask you to just stay on. We'll get back to you after our commercials are done. Now, if you're still listening to us, with this moment, we're talking about the unemployment rate and how it's actually reflecting on the average Nigeria on the street. Are those figures, whether it's 33.3% or 40.4% or 4.6% as KPMG is forecasting at the end of the year, is that a true relation? Is that a true reflection of what is happening on the streets here in Nigeria? When we come back, we'll talk to Mr. Cletus and we'll also ask you to engage us this morning. Hello, Pataka returns.
Talk radio. 92.3. Talk radio. Number one, talk.
there are certain levels of disparity. 33.3% from the national statistics here. That's the National Bureau of Statistics. However, KPMG is saying its forecast for Nigeria is bleaker than it was expected. 40%. That's a major challenge. Now, my guest so far is saying, well, those stats are not exactly true. And there's a reason for that. There's a variety. And more importantly, are you willing to seek employment? Because Ilugo, my guest, has said that there are some individuals who are not even interested in seeking employment. My name is Jude. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hello Port Harcourt.
And now, Hello Port Harcourt with Jude on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, Mr. Cletus is on the line. Mr. Cletus, good morning, please, and thank you for your patience.
Yes, good morning, colleagues, and good morning, listeners, and good morning, Mr. Jude. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now, I would like to ask you, the listener, to also join in the conversation. The numbers to call 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0007. So they can have a conversation with you. Now, so you find us on Facebook and area info page. Facebook on the streets. In Port Harcourt, Lagos. It's to you, Mr. Q.
A security guard. He is working. That is full potential. That is underemployment. But in the books of the organization where he's working, and in the perception of people, he's gainfully employed. Can you see the anomaly? So it is only when you are going to analyze potential skill of the people that's underemployed, you know that actually where it is a mismatch compared to his potentials and aspirations. This is how you look at it. So for instance,
yes,
an engineer who is trained to design machines and has the potential to do so, and is probably in a supermarket as a waiter, you can see there's a mismatch. He's not performing at full capacity. Even though he might be happy as a waiter in that supermarket, there is that actually his skill, his ability. So that's underemployment.
What if the person? Because I just interviewed a lawyer who's no longer practicing. You know, she's argued cases to the appeal courts, but she's no longer practicing. She's now into content creation, into animation. She now makes cartoons for children.
That's a different ball game. Think of career path.
Okay.
Is different from unemployment.
Okay. For
her or he, who you interview to become a content creator, there was a training that he or she went through. While studying as a lawyer, she will be content creator. As a matter of fact, I can bet you during his studies or her studies in the school and the law school, in the Western school, content creation was already into him or her. So content creation was a new discipline, a new career path developed out of the aspirations, out of the detection of the decades of environment where he or she lives and the opportunities that are bound. So when we talk about an individual trying to meet the demands of his environment, there is need for you to upscale, there is need for you to develop, and there is need for you to count. Do you understand? This is not the case of underemployment. The case of that is a lawyer even to content creation. It's not underemployment.
That's basically
a new career path.
Migration.
Do you understand? Underemployment is where people bring the and what is trying to do is that and protection activity. What is important is a case of change in discipline and career path based on the environmental demands, the needs of the environment that
what I want to say is this. People stick to one thing that they are doing. Universities, institutions should copy from other countries who include technology and industrial training in their curriculum. We continue to do the one thing we are doing always without changing, copying from other people. Number two, we talked about agriculture. There's a lot of land. Government can create farm farms and then get people to go in there to go and do some work. But people are not interested in people, so we are not thinking people. We think ourselves, what we are getting for ourselves, and not what we can do for the people. That is our big problem.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Cletus, Richie in Lagos, Richard Agedo in Lagos says, actually, unemployment rate on the streets is too much. Most pickpockets and agberos are in need of jobs right now. Now, Mr. Cletus, you mentioned earlier on in your definition and in your assessment of these figures that sometimes there are some individuals who don't want to get a job, an official job. Would these individuals fall under that? Because I have to ask this question. If someone right now listening knows an agberu, a tout or a lout, right, or a pickpocket, a thief, right, and you say let's go for training, how many of them would agree to go take that training?